This woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own.
Megyn wraps up the roast with a blunt truth. Hillary's biggest political talent has always been pushing the blame elsewhere. The FBI, sexism, James Comey, Russia, disinformation. The list of excuses keeps growing, longer than her own memoir. But as Megyn points out, if everyone else is always to blame, maybe they were never the real problem in the first place. And Hillary's efforts to stay relevant only seem to make things worse, as she keeps showing up in interviews hinting at another run and floating ideas about stepping in to fix things, which Megyn compares to a washed-up rock star who still believes the crowd is chanting her name when in reality, the seats are empty. And by the end, Hillary isn't the larger-than-life figure she tried to present. The image falls apart, leaving behind a politician whose greatest strengths ended up becoming the very things that brought her down.
Stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out-and-out lies that were really serious and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must...
Then comes the irony at the heart of Hillary's career. Her drive for power is exactly what ended up costing her that power. Megyn lays it out clearly. Hillary spent years building her resume, stacking titles, shaping a legacy, only to find out the public didn't want what she was offering. She had all the credentials, but none of the spark. Megyn compares her 2016 campaign to a big-budget Hollywood movie. Huge promotion, great reviews, record-breaking funding, and still, it flopped at the box office. Hillary didn't lose because of Russia, the FBI, or media conspiracies. She lost because voters simply weren't convinced.
Legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's downright...
Megyn doesn't stop at Hillary's failures. She goes straight at the contradictions that shape her public image. Hillary built her brand as a champion for women, yet there are moments in her career where she seemed to sideline women to protect her own position. Megyn points out what she sees as the inconsistency, arguing that Hillary's feminism often felt situational, something presented for the cameras but less clear behind the scenes. Then there's the awkward side of it all, the stiff laughs, the formal handshakes, the forced relatable moments that feel a bit off, like awkward improv. Megyn frames it as a performance years in the making, one that still doesn't quite connect.
Weird and I think shitty marriage. I don't think she has a husband who is in love with her or faithful to her, and I think I can't really blame him because she seems to have accepted this behavior since the inception of their marriage. And so past his prologue, you're going to get what you tolerate. You know, what you permit, you promote. She spent all of her daughter's upbringing away, at work, at the law firm.
And then there's Hillary's constant push to rebrand. First Lady, Senator, Secretary of State, Presidential Candidate. Each new role came with a new slogan, a new image, and a new version of herself. But no matter how many times she tried to reinvent things, the public never fully bought in. Megyn compares it to a movie that keeps getting rebooted. New cast, new director, big marketing, yet audiences still lose interest halfway through. By the end of it, Hillary isn't the unstoppable force she spent years presenting. She comes across more like a cautionary tale of what happens when confidence meets reality. A once powerful figure now overshadowed by the weight of her own ambition.
It's a very different ballgame today than it was even 4 years ago, never mind 8 or 10 years ago when she was doing all this. And back to Hillary, you know, the whole, she has a hat she's tweeted herself out wearing, but her emails. She's tried to turn it into this ridiculous joke like, oh, but the moon landing, like you nutcases who are still railing about this made-up scandal.
Megyn also takes aim at Hillary's habit of playing the victim. Every loss, every scandal, every misstep somehow becomes something done to her, never anything she caused herself. Megyn compares her to a boxer who gets knocked out and then blames the referee, the crowd, and even the lighting. The joke hits because it feels true. Then there's the money hypocrisy. Hillary often criticizes inequality and the corrupting power of wealth. Yet her own fortune and close ties with billionaires tell a very different story, and Megyn makes sure no one misses it. To top it off, Hillary's post-election years became pure comedy gold. Instead of moving on, she stayed stuck in 2016, replaying her loss through books, interviews, and documentaries. Megyn likens her to a washed-up athlete, endlessly rewatching old games, hoping someone still cares.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how...
And speaking of Bill, Megyn doesn't shy away from the elephant in the room. Hillary built her image as a champion for women, yet she stood by Bill through years of allegations and misconduct. Megyn calls out the hypocrisy, noting that Hillary's feminism often seemed to appear only when it was politically convenient. Loyalty to Bill came first, principles second. Then there's her stage presence, which Megyn turns into another punchline. The stiff gestures, awkward laughs, and strange attempts at humor come off like a malfunctioning robot. Megyn compares it to watching Siri try to tell jokes. Effort is there, but the human touch is missing.
And Chelsea Clinton is not a nice person. And I think really is just sort of getting along based on the family name at this point. And so now she's got a daughter who I guess married a rich guy, but is struggling in her own right. Hillary's in a loveless marriage. She probably doesn't have a lot of real friends, just people who are glommers. And so she absolutely does have to write a fifth memoir and go on MSNBC and be told that she's amazing. And
Megyn doesn't stop there. She takes aim at Hillary's refusal to own her mistakes. Whenever things go wrong, it's always someone else's fault. The FBI, Russia, sexism, the media, even the voters. Megyn frames this as the ultimate political delusion, blaming the very people you're supposed to represent. Losing because the working class didn't back you is one thing, but blaming them for not appreciating you? That's next-level arrogance. Then Megyn tears down another myth, Hillary as a trailblazer. Without Bill Clinton's presidency, she wouldn't have had the platform to build her career. She didn't break barriers on her own. She walked through doors her husband's power had already opened.
She did need to distract from that email scandal, which was around her neck like an albatross. Trust me, we were covering it every night on the Kelly File at Fox News. She had clearly violated the law with that homebrew server that had been accessed by foreign agents. She compromised national intelligence information. She did things she would never have allowed anybody at the State Department.
And then there are the scandals, an endless parade of political disasters. From Whitwater to Benghazi to her private email server, Megyn tears through Hillary's greatest hits with sharp precision. Nothing ever fully resolved, nothing ever truly forgotten. Instead, Hillary seemed to build her career on outlasting the outrage rather than clearing her name. Megyn lands the punch perfectly. Hillary wanted to be remembered for breaking glass ceilings, but instead she's remembered for dodging shards from one scandal after another.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is.
Megyn goes straight for Hillary's sense of entitlement, poking fun at how she treated the presidency like a coronation. Hillary didn't campaign to earn votes. She campaigned like she was already taking out drapes for the Oval Office. Her whole demeanor said, "It's my turn." Megyn tears into that arrogance, pointing out that voters don't respond to being told what's inevitable. They want to be inspired, convinced, and won over. Hillary never did that. Instead, she demanded loyalty and acted shocked when people didn't deliver it.
Hillary Clinton just weighed in publicly again on why she lost. And just in case you were thinking it was because she didn't go to Wisconsin, you are wrong. It is you, women of America. It is your fault. She now sits down for an interview and decides that the reason she didn't win is American females. That they didn't like that she wasn't perfect.
Then comes the most crushing chapter of Hillary's career, the 2016 election. Megyn sets the scene clearly. Hillary had the full establishment on her side, the media, Hollywood, billionaires, and global donors, all betting on her win. And yet, she lost to Donald Trump, a man the political elite dismissed as a joke. Megyn doesn't hold back. She drives the point home. Hillary didn't just lose an election. She lost the one she was supposed to win, without question. The roast frames it as the ultimate political meltdown, a collapse so spectacular it reshaped the playbook for American politics.
How dare she? She puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy." The nerve of this woman to have committed federal crimes and to have gotten off because James Comey didn't have the spine to bring it. And now seeing her political opponent get a different result and trying to take some sort of "I told you, but my emails, that was never a thing" lap is galling.
The roast kicks off with Hillary's biggest contradiction, her relentless drive for power versus her lifelong struggle to connect with people. Megyn frames it as sharp irony. The woman who wanted to be America's most relatable leader never quite figured out how to be relatable. Every attempt at authenticity felt staged. Every just like you moment landed like a bad sketch at amateur night. Megyn zeroes in on Hillary's core weakness. She wasn't so much defeated by her opponents as she was undone by herself. Her biggest liability wasn't her policies, it was her inability to make anyone believe she was genuine.
And that leaves me back to Schellenberger here. This is page 4 of his report. He says, he writes as follows: "The Russian reports," again, that the Dutch spied on, that we got our hands on, "also claimed," and listen to this, I mean, you probably already know this stuff, Glenn, but claimed that Attorney General Loretta Lynch, okay, this is back in 2016, people, remember, Obama's president, Loretta Lynch is his Attorney General, and her DOJ/FBI are investigating the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And also now we learn simultaneously working with the Hillary Clinton campaign to bury that scandal in favor of...
Hillary Clinton spent decades shaping an image of inevitability, a political powerhouse destined to make history. But when Megyn Kelly goes after her, that carefully crafted story falls apart fast. Suddenly, inevitability looks like vulnerability. This isn't just a roast, it's a full-on dismantling of the Clinton myth. Every forced smile, every stiff laugh, every speech heavy with entitlement becomes a punchline. Megyn peels back the polished surface of the Clinton brand, revealing not a symbol of power, but a monument to missteps, and she does it with surgical precision.